I am Pops, and I talked about Death Proof, and I asked the question, is this the worst Tarantino film? You guys went crazy. You had all sorts of comments, and everybody pretty much agreed with me. I include Jackie Brown because I need to do a rewatch of Jackie Brown, but I kind of have Hateful Eight and Death Proof at the bottom of my Tarantino list. And again, yes, they're better than most movies. I get that, but they're not particularly rewatchable. I did a rewatch of Hateful Eight, so this is my thoughts. These are my reactions to some of those elements and why I think it definitely falls a little bit short compared to the Tarantino standard. The first thing is I don't want to sell the movie short because as far as scale goes, beautifully shot film. There are definitely a lot of moments I think that are just done very, very well and deserve the credit accordingly. He does actually shoot some shots on location with the stagecoach, and they actually have a lot. And I know there is like an extended cut. I'm not watching more of this film. So a lot of this stuff I actually liked a lot. I felt it was very immersive. I felt like I was there. I really enjoyed all of that. And actually, to the film's detriment, in the second half of the film, when the stage is coming in, sort of like flashback to the beginning of the film, he wastes 2 minutes on that sequence. So he really was trying to get his money's worth for these shots. Basically, the premise of the film is you're watching a stagecoach. They're gradually picking up more and more people. You have Kurt Russell's character, who is a bounty hunter. He's bringing in this woman to be hanged. She's a wanted criminal. And in the process, they run across another person and then another person. One of them is Samuel Jackson's character, Major Marquez. He is a black bounty hunter. He's a former officer who also fought in the Civil War. And then Walter Goggins plays Chris Mannix, who's kind of was a Confederate wild man with a family who fought on the side of the South, and that he is claims to be he's going to be the sheriff in Red Rock, which is the town where they're all headed. They're going to be stopping at this place called Minnie's Haberdashery, which is like a local like bed and breakfast type place. At that time where you just kind of stay. In this case, a blizzard's going to roll in, so they're all going to be trapped there. And we get there, they find 3 or 4 other characters, and you find all of this interaction that basically unpacks everything for every bit of over an hour and 15 minutes or so, with all the setup and stuff like that. So we'll get to more of that in just a minute. Let's run through the trailer a little bit and see some of the other elements, so we can kind of put my thoughts together with some of the visuals. So yeah, this is our first look at Samuel Jackson. I think this is going to be one of the problems that he's having, because he calls the film Hateful Eight. He wants to create a world where none of these people are heroes. They're all anti-heroes at best. But I think that's part of the problem, is Samuel Jackson's character and Kurt Russell's character, and even Walter Goggins' character to a significantly less extent, are all anti-heroes. We do empathize with them trying to do, we follow their moral code. Right? As cruel, as awful people they may be, we follow their moral compass. We follow what is actually happening. And yes, Samuel Jackson provokes the old man because he had tortured and killed the son, and there's a big shootout and all of that. Chris Mannix, of course, is kind of sketchy with his morality. You don't even know if he's really actually going to be the sheriff or not. And he's kind of involved with some of that provocative behavior. Of course, Kurt Russell is abusive to the woman that he's bringing in. But all of this, I think, is still very, very solid, and I enjoy all that. By the way, Jennifer Jason Leigh, this is possibly her best role that I could think of off the top of my head. Like, I mean, she disappears in this film. Like, it's hard to believe that's her. Really, really is. So, I actually, other than the long, drawn out nature of this film in this first part and all of the sequences that's happening here, I actually enjoy all this. It just takes forever and a day to get there. I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the Tarantino elements of it. The problem with this first setup, and we're going to get to where the second half of the film, because it is literally a story of 2 different films plugged together, is Tarantino has ideas, he has scenes, he has like MacGuffins and things he thinks about, and then he tries to squeeze them in, shoehorn them together, even if that doesn't always play out well. For instance, and one of the things that's very key to the film is that Samuel Jackson's character allegedly has this letter from Abraham Lincoln, the President of the United States, and then they would basically essentially be pen pals, and he would show this off, that kind of thing. So that kind of plays out. And at the end of the day, there's a twist with that too. We'll get to, and as an audience person, then I'm checked out. I'm like, you lost me. You went through all of this time, and it's like, okay, so they're going to get themselves to, and this trailer does follow. We're 45 seconds into a trailer, and we only meet the same characters we see along the beginning. This is OB. OB is actually the only good person in the film. The characters even say that. They even say, yeah, but you killed OB, and OB was a good person. He didn't do anything wrong. This is inside the inside minis. This is actually so there are great moments in this set and great moments in the historical framework of the thing, like where they have to, the door's broken. They have to literally put a hammer and nail in boards and take them down as each person goes in and out because the storm gets raging. They talk about having to put up the stake ropes to get back and forth to the stables and to the outhouse. I think all of that is great, especially for folks who don't have those frames of reference. I think all of that was fine. Characters are fine. As far as their portrayals go, I'm not trying to demean anyone's performances. Bruce Dern is great. Tim Roth is great. All these things are fine. Okay. Then we kind of move through this whole big thing. Okay, there's Michael Madsen's character. So we'll come back to Michael Madsen, I think, because, yeah, Bruce Dern was great as this sort of like old Confederate former, I want to say leader. I guess he is. I mean, was he a colonel, right? I think he's supposed to be a colonel, general. He's a general. And it's like, it's fine. He's kind of just a sad, old, withering man. There's Walter Goggins, who is always fantastic in everything he does. Okay, this is Bob. So Bob is the Hispanic guy, the dude who's been left in charge, the, quote, Mexican. And he's probably one of my least favorite elements of the film. I just could care absolutely less. Okay, so this is how the film is going to go, and there's all this sort of back and forth. And here's Tim Roth's character. He's allegedly the hangman, and there's all this back and forth, and it comes to a head, hour and 15 minutes or so along and away. And then someone poisons the coffee, and you have this violent vomiting of blood. You have all this chaos that's broken out. This is in addition to the fact that there was a big shootout between Sam Jack's character and Bruce Dern. That's what happens, a distraction. Now, this is where the film completely changes on a wire. Terrible, lazy. I hated everything about it. Tarantino plays narrator and comes in and basically just tries to give us information we did not have and tell us how, well, what you didn't know was. And then starts talking about how basically other people showed up ahead of time. They're there to save her after all. So Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, there's always been talked about. There's who's in cahoots with her, who's trying to get the bounty money and all that. Well, come to find out they are. It turns out that Channing Tatum plays her brother and has this gang. And the gang is there to save her. And he is in the basement. So all of this is set up by this narrator. And I don't know about anyone else, but this is where I feel cheated. You wasted my time for over an hour. You went through all this nonsense. And you set up things like the Lincoln letter. Then you have a conversation about how it was fake and it was bogus. And it's all about just trying to let Samuel Jackson talk about how hard it is for black people in this time. And I'm like, it just seemed like a contrived way. Tarantino wanted a reason to have that conversation. What would work? What if this dude had this letter? He could pretend it was. That's literally how the brain process went. So the execution of you wasting so much of my time and then trying to unravel the story. And you didn't do it in a Pulp Fiction-y way, which felt like you could have cut the order and it would have been fun. This would have just felt just as tedious, if not worse, because I would already have known. I think you could have done some sort of introductory scene with this to at least let the audience know. Or if you had those moments where they're monologuing upstairs and then you have the camera and you reveal he's downstairs. I don't know. Just everything about this, I think, is why people are so adverse to not liking this film. 8 Strangers, One Deadly Connection, kind of, because it all does center around, the girl. So this is Michael Madsen character. Probably, again, he and Bob are probably the weaker elements of the film. They're basically just these generic thugs. They kind of have these very generic, predictable dialogue. It's not particularly interesting. Yeah. And then Tim Roth. So this is just kind of how it's going to play out. during our flashback sequence, which I don't think we get any of that in the trailer, right? Yeah, we don't get anything like that in the trailer. There's Jennifer Jason Leigh. So in the flashback sequence, when you actually meet Minnie and Charlie, what is it? The guy in the hair, the Sweet Dave. First off, Sweet Dave's white and Minnie's black. So are all the dynamics of this place existing in Wyoming fine, not very believable. But then you ended up with Zoe Bell as Six Horse Judy. They bring in the stage. Also, Zoe Bell, her character is excruciatingly bad. I couldn't stand it. I hated every moment. So, like I said, 2 films. First half of the film is solid, but takes too long. Like the pacing is just, it takes forever. It's like an hour, and I think it's an hour and 15 or so. And it should have been like half of this time. There's so much of this we didn't need it. And the Lincoln Letter is part of the problem. I almost felt like if Kurt Russell's character was sort of back and forth with it, maybe, or there was a way to trim. I don't know. It's just that letter and this wasted amount of time there just could have been faster. Just could have worked a little bit better. The fact that we have this sort of like, it's almost like a cheat. Just put people in the basement and create a new set of new chaos, right? So yeah, I just didn't care for any of that. So the third act is this climax that comes out because now you know Channing Tatum's in the basement. All this stuff's happened upstairs. Kurt Russell's character's been poisoned. Other people have been poisoned, and then Channing Tatum's character shoots Sam Jackson, and then bullets are being exchanged. Tim Roth's firing a gun, and anyway, he and Walton Goggins shoot each other. Whatever. Okay. So the last act of the movie, you're down to the point now. Well, first off, you gave me Kurt Russell the whole time, and then you killed him off. So now I don't understand why you do. There's no one. I'm not cheering for anyone at this point in the room. I'm attached to Sam Jackson. Kind of Walton Goggins is fine, and he actually is like a roller coaster. Like we don't like him, we like him, we don't like him, we like him. But when he starts to align with Samuel Jackson, you're hoping that one of them kind of makes it, but you don't really care for anybody. You have people who are like, blah, 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 and just blow a head off. And you're like, okay, so the shock factor, this grindhouse, this sort of, that sort of approach to everything in a Western was what he's going for. And I think that's where he misses the mark because I don't care. I don't care for her, especially. There's nothing likable about her. She is off-putting, nasty. It's excruciatingly bad for me to want her to survive either. So, and again, I think maybe that's what he's going for. He's like trying to make us feel uncomfortable that we're not cheering for anyone. And I think what the end result is we just aren't cheering for anyone. We don't really care if anybody lives. And it makes no sense by the end of the film. Nobody makes it. Everyone's dead. Everyone shoots somebody. They hang her. It's all drawn out for all sorts of like contrived reasons. Like, let's have them do this so that we can do this. Let's have them wait to not shoot her because if we do this, that'll make a funny scene. We can have her hack off the arm. It's just an excuse to be gross, excuse to drag it out. It's just a mess. So I was debating. This is where I'm at. I don't know. See, the thing is I like Westerns, and I don't hate that first part of this movie. But I don't know, because I like the first half of Death Proof way more than the second half, even though I like the car chase stuff at the end of Death Proof as well. So I think this is the same problem. It's this middling movie. I know people liked it, there's people that love this movie. Not my thing, didn't like it at all. Bottom of the tier for me. The rewatchability is the problem because it's so long. The second act is complete. Like so much of my time is wasted. It's just about gross and shock factor type stuff. Death Proof is just like if I could skip over all the ladies talking and just get to that car chase, I'm good because I don't care if they survive or not. That's kind of where I'm at. These are definitely the two that are at the bottom for me. If I have to pick one, I probably say this is better than Death Proof, but I mean this is the difference between like a 2-star movie and a 2.5 star on my 5-star scale. Like this is like they're at the bottom. They're okay, but there's just not rewatchability at all for me. And part of this is you end up with characters like I hate Death Proof at the end because of the way they handle Kurt Russell's character. I actually like Stuntman Mike, and then they're like he's crying. I got hurt. It's like, well, you've been blowing people up left and right. At some point, you would have been hurt along the way. Part of what derailed that story for me was that he didn't seem as a very thick-skinned serial killer. It's like it just didn't really work for me. And I think this is a film that's based on a lot of contrived ideas that he had, and he's entertaining himself, and no one in the room backed up and go, yeah, but if I don't know what you're talking about, Quentin, you didn't show us any of this, you didn't give me any story. I think what works with Kill Bill is, yes, he's lifting from all these different things, but the story itself and what he's showing us works on its own. I don't have to know all that. In this movie, in order to get a lot of elements that you're supposed to appreciate, things that he was trying to pay homage to and things like that, eh, you know, yeah. So, by the way, the guitar that's destroyed was an actual guitar, which I thought was kind of a funny little trivia. Like, I guess they loaned it there. Kurt Russell's character grabs this guitar because they let her play the song, and she basically turns it into "John, You're Gonna Die." Anyway, it was supposed to be switched, but it was not. Anyway, so as far as backstories go, that was actually kind of fun. I actually kind of laughed about that. I had read that. Anyway, so again, I think there are great elements of the film that make it tolerable, but not rewatchable. I do appreciate the fact that we are filming a lot on locations and cool set designs and things like that. And definitely a lot of moments. Like I said, all this stuff in the first half of the movie, I actually enjoyed a lot more than I enjoy at the end. So, yeah, that's my take on it. You guys can kind of let me know what you think. Worst Tarantino film? Among the worst, for sure. I'm going to rank it slightly ahead of Death Proof, but boy, it's like, I'm not really watching either one of these again. I've done my part. So that's my take on it. Take care, everybody. I am Pops.